What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Silver Screen Shenanigans podcast. My name is Devin, and the question of the day is, in the movie Spider-Man No Way Home, who's your favorite Spider-Man that shows up? Obviously, spoiler alert, there's the three Spider-Men are in the movie. For me, it's the first Spider-Man movies I ever watched, like, as a kid, because I think those came out in, like, 2007?
2002.
2002? Yeah, so I probably watched those when I was a little bit older than that, because, I was 2 when they came out. But, so I probably watched those, like, when I was, like, 5, 7. So, like, he's kind of like the OG. I love the web suit. And, like, those movies are, like, kind of perfect to me sometimes, because, like, they do corny and, like, action-packed and, like, jokes very well. And also the villains are really cool. It's the first, like, time you get the speech of great power comes great responsibility. So it's, like, kind of, like, perfect story of Spider-Man.
It's in that beginning phase of, like, superhero movies.
Yeah, with, like, Blade, Daredevil, and, those... I mean, Blade's cool, but, like, we don't talk about the first Daredevil with Ben Affleck.
Yeah. My name's Riley, and I think my favorite is still Tom Holland. I think cool. He has to be my favorite, just because mainly it's the one I remember the most, because as I'm getting older, my memory is getting better than when I was a kid. But he has that kid aspect that the other ones, in my mind, just didn't have.
Oh yeah, they were adults playing teenagers.
Yeah. So it's just that actually having, like, a kid play a kid really helps with, like, my mind anyway. Also, we get to see, like, the actual coming of age of our Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. If they did, like, a Miles Morales, I'm sure they would do probably about the same that they've done with Tom Holland, because Miles is a kid, right? He's even younger than Peter, growing up, becoming Spider-Man.
They should totally do it, because they hint at it pretty hard in this movie.
Question for you: who would you want as Miles Morales?
An actor?
Yeah.
Shoot, man, I don't know.
Well, you can think about when I tell mine. Hi, my name's Jacob. So we all kind of split up on this one. Like, we didn't work it out this way, but, like, my favorite was Andrew Garfield. Like, I still love Tom Holland, and I love him as Spider-Man, but, like, from my favorites was Andrew Garfield's version. I liked his more than the original Spider-Man when it first came out, so I was actually really excited for it. Several reasons, because, like, it's a little bit more comic book accurate, right? Like, so, like, the first Tobey Maguire, he made his own webs, which is not how he, like, Spider-Man always made his gadgets, like his web shooters and stuff. I love the science aspect of it. It goes into, like, the more of, like, him being a brainiac and, like, doing all the chemistry stuff at, like, Oscorp in the first movie, right? Like, he has to develop these ways and think through, and, like, and these other ones, like, he also fought like a spider in the movie, which I thought was really dope that the other one, too, didn't really do.
Yeah.
So it's just all those little tiny aspects is why I liked Andrew Garfield more.
Yeah.
But I still love Tom Holland. He's great.
In the first Amazing Spider-Man, he, like, went down into the sewer and made the web to like feel vibrations, which was really, really cool.
And then, like, in the school, he, like, when he's fighting him, he crawled on him and, like, webbed him up like a real spider would, and, like, if someone got caught in their trap. Also, I love his first costume more. I know Devin doesn't, because the eyes. Like,
the eyes are stupid.
They're, like, made of sunglasses, right? But, like, that's how, like, Tobey Maguire made his first suit too, right?
Yeah.
And, like, obviously he made it better for the first movie, right? But I also didn't like his eyes in the second movie. Remember them? The big old and bug-eyed. You know what I'm talking about?
I do not.
In the second Amazing Spider-Man?
I'll look up a picture.
It has been so long since I've seen any of the other Spider-Man movies.
I thought his suit in the first one looked really cool, but the second one...
Yeah. I recently saw a clip of Spider-Man 3. Is that the one with Sandman?
Yeah.
I saw a clip of that, like, with the very end of Sandman actually becoming angry that he's now sand. But, like, I guess I hadn't seen Spider-Man 3 in so long.
That's what we were saying last night, too, when we were watching No Way Home. We were like, oh, crap, all the rest of them are canon now, too.
That one.
Okay.
Like, they're big and bug-eyed. Like, compared to, like, Tom Holland's, right? Like, they're smaller.
Yeah.
And, like, even the first one, they're smaller than that. So
it's... Yeah.
Like, just a drastic change. Plus,
I guess it's faithful to, like, the Amazing Spider-Man comic. Like, his eyes are bigger. But I don't know. So No Way Home opens with possibly like the best like actor casted for a role because he was in the Sam Raimi movies as well as J. Jonah Jameson. But I keep forgetting his name. I don't remember his name.
JR something.
I looked it up last time too.
But so he worked for the Daily Bugle, and he exposes Spider-Man's identity to the world, while simultaneously framing him for Mysterio's death.
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons.
Simons.
Simons.
There's 2 M's. Whoops.
That's true.
Yeah, no, he is
So yeah,
blaming
Mysterio.
him completely.
Yeah, the end of the last movie. Yeah, Mysterio, I guess, made a video right before he died, saying like, yeah, like it's Peter's voice of like execute them all, and like he frames it as like he's killing citizens,
Yeah.
as well as him.
What he was really doing was executing all the cancellation procedures.
Yes. So MJ is like down on the ground when this news breaks, so he like swings down, grabs her, and like they are going to their apartment or May's apartment, and we find that like people are starting to surround it with like helicopters, and like there are people on like like the adjacent roofs of the buildings, and they're like yelling and screaming. He's like running around closing the blinds of the apartment. We also find out that Happy and May broke up, and I was like, oh, Happy can't have nothing.
He's crying.
Wasn't at the end of the other movie? She goes, "Oh, it's just like a summer fling."
Yeah, it's just it's summer fling, you know? I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah. Happy did, though. So they are like just like kind of hiding out in the apartment, I guess. But it doesn't take long for damage control to like show up, and like they have a warrant for all their arrests, which I think is kind of ironic because like they're there after Tony's tech, and like Tony began damage control. They take him there, and what I thought was like kind of fun is like Peter's handcuffed, and like he's just like letting himself be handcuffed because he could like rip that off the tape. They do my boy Ned dirty. they ask him like, "Oh, you're the guy in the chair." Yeah, I have tons of guys in the chair. He's like, "Yeah, no, I was there to hack like Tony Stark's suit. I was there to like help him track down the Vulture." He's like, "Oh, so you're an accomplice in his legal."
Oh, well, my lawyer.
Yeah.
It was really cool because like they took the Iron Spider suit, right?
Mhm.
Because it was in the
little container.
Yeah, and they also took the glasses.
Yep.
Which I was like, no, not the glasses,
Edith, no.
because that's the last thing that Tony gave him.
I also felt bad for Tom Holland in this situation because he's like, "Bro, just go ask Nick Fury." Because Nick Fury's been missing for years, my guy.
He hasn't been on
He's
planet.
been off planet for
What?
a year.
I just talked to him.
So they go back home and they hire Matthew Murdock, whoever that is. Bro,
Some lawyer.
that is so sick that they get Charlie Cox back. Like, cause he was in the show on Netflix, and like that's not only like one of the best Marvel shows of all time, but like it encapsulates Daredevil perfect. I hope I guess we do
get to see
we
him
get
more.
one of his villains, but like
Oh,
not
I thought
really.
you were talking about hoping to get to see him more.
Yeah, we will get a show, which is pretty sick.
Real quick question though: does that mean all of those shows like that were canon, or just those two? Like the
For right now, it's just
Daredevil.
It's just Daredevil.
so not Frank Castle.
I hope we get
Because that could be a different universe with the same with the same person as, but it could be different people.
John Bernthal as Frank
others.
Castle again would be very dope.
Yeah.
So this is like this is their senior year of like a Midtown High, and like their high school is like crazy because everybody like there's just a big mob outside the high school, and like there's a half that like hates him because they think Mysterio's right, and the other half is like fully behind Peter and like supports him.
You got Betty out there,
True.
Ned's ex. out in the crowd.
She gets to say the line too, "Go get him, Tiger," which is crazy. That's the first time that she says that famous line.
It's only MJ that says it, right?
Yeah.
What famous?
Go get him, Tiger.
Line?
This bro doesn't read the comics.
Oh, wow, so you didn't see the first movie either.
Yeah, MJ says "Go get him, Tiger" like quite a bit when he's like up against like his daunting task.
It's usually right before the last fight. She goes, "You go get him."
So like they have they all want to get into MIT and like be there all together and be best buds. They all get rejection letters though, which sucks because of like the controversy surrounding Peter Parker. And so Peter's like, "This is unfair to you guys. You did nothing wrong. How am I going to figure this out?" Well, he's like sitting in MJ's diner.
Yeah. And they have the Halloween stuff still
up. And he sees like a little witch or like a little wizard, and he gets the idea to go to the Sanctum Sanctorum.
Really cool. We get to see the Sanctum again.
Oh, and also Flash got into MIT.
Yeah, he like busts in and goes, "Oh yeah, oh yeah."
Yeah, he's like no sleep till was it
Brooklyn?
Boston.
Yeah, it's Boston, and like that's the wrong city.
But I think it's so sad. Flash's story is actually just so sad.
Oh yeah.
The only reason he wanted to go to MIT was to be with those guys more. Because he wants friends.
Yeah, because in the Far From Home, we see the text that like, "Mother, returned my text. Father has not called me." I was like, "Oh no!"
And when he gets picked up at the airport, it's his butler, not his parents.
Yeah, it's so sad. So as like Peter is, I guess, yeah, he goes to the Sanctum first, and he gets the. He goes in first and he sees like there's snow like covering all over the Sanctum Sanctorum, and like there's just two like teenagers cleaning it up, and like he's like, "Hello, is anyone here?" And then Wong, the new
Supreme Sorcerer,
dude, Sorcerer Supreme, he's like, "Yeah, we know who you are. Don't slip. We don't have like liability insurance." And then Doctor Strange shows up, and like they're bickering of like whose fault it is. I don't know. I suppose it's Wong's fault because he's the Sorcerer Supreme, but like
it's also Steven's fault because he's the one in charge of this sanctum.
I don't know. Well, isn't the Sorcerer Supreme in charge of being Sanctum?
No, she's like in charge of all of them, I'm pretty sure.
That's what I thought.
Because like, if you think in the
either
first...
way, they forgot to re-up their security
like a barrier,
spells.
and like
there was a blizzard in one of the rooms.
The
and
portals
it got
that
through.
open, yeah, and it's just covered in snow. So they talk, and Peter's like, you know, my life really got screwed up, and it's not just mine, it's other people. And he goes, "Yeah, no, I got a spell." And then Wong's like, "All right, leave me out of this. I want nothing to do with this." I'm like, "Sorcerer Supreme, you're supposed to like stop this."
Bad things.
Wasn't it like a forbidden spell or like a spell they really don't know much about or like some kind of magic they don't really mess with?
It was supposed to be an easy spell because they did it to forget about one of their parties they
But
had.
Wong says it invokes like something unknown,
Dark magic.
Yeah, like the
in
dark
between
some in between realities or something like that. Yeah. So he's like, you probably shouldn't do it. But yeah, I think this scene, like a lot of people like kind of crap on the scene because like it's so stupid. But like I think this is like perfectly in line with both of these characters. Like Peter is still like immature. He doesn't understand the gravity of his actions right now. And also Doctor Strange is still
super cocky.
So arrogant that he's like, "Yeah, I can do this spell. It's no problem." It doesn't go well.
No, it does not.
Because Peter keeps changing the spell as it's beginning. At first, it's like everybody will forget. Then Peter's like, "Wait, what about MJ? What about Happy, Ned, and then like May?" And then like the spell explodes, and like Strange like tries to like
condense it.
Yeah, and then he puts it into like this. I don't know what shape you call it.
A
Dodecahedron?
Dodecahedron.
He puts it in this thing, and then he puts it in a box, and like he contains the spell. And he's like, maybe I don't know. Maybe you can go convince them. And then he's like, wait, I can do that?
Oh yeah, he didn't say. He said, "I'm sorry, man. If only you could have convinced them."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Wait, I can go talk to them. You can just go talk to people. Like that wasn't the first thought in your mind. It was let's brainwash the entire world."
Yep.
Also, secondly, I feel like they could just restart a spell, right? Like his whole thing was like,
Yeah,
hey,
he
let's
kept
destroy it.
adding to it
Yeah.
instead of just stopping the spell and recasting it.
So like his whole thing, like he can get rid of it with that box, whatever, right? Do that and just restart it, right? Like we finally understand what we want. Do it again, right?
I feel like
How hard would that be?
he tells him, he's like, well, I think his reasoning is because he's like, even with all we've been through, I still forget that you're a kid. And he's like, I don't want to do anything with a kid that like, I think the reality of like, oh, this could be potentially bad. Yeah. I think it sets in.
Also, we do forget that he didn't have the box, the ancient artifact that he put the spell into. What he had was a spell he put around the spell.
I got you.
So at first, all he had was that spell holding it together.
Gotcha.
So then he goes and he gets the box once we find out that there are more leaks.
So Peter is goes to like the MIT consultant, and he kind of glides in too with like.
I love the
I
spider
thought that
glider.
was
so cool.
That's so cool.
I hope he puts that in the suit at the end of this movie.
We also forgot to mention that she's not like in an office or anything.
Yeah, no, she Flash told her. Yeah, Flash. He calls Flash because like he was just with her.
Well, that was also the only person who got into MIT.
Yeah,
and they had a MIT meeting or something.
yeah, and he gave her the book, Flashpoint, which that's a reference, has to be
To DC or
to DC,
yeah.
has to be. And he he calls Flash and he's like, Peter's like, Flash, please tell me where she's at. And he goes, you know what I want. And he's like, okay, fine. I'll tell everyone that you're my best friend. And he's like, yeah, she's driving to the airport. So yeah, he has to glide over there. He meets her and he doesn't plan out the speech beforehand. But he's trying to like desperately convince, that Ned and MJ, like not even him, but just Ned and MJ should get into MIT.
Yeah, he goes, don't be stupid like me. Are you calling us stupid?
And then we get it again, which is pretty cool. We get the Spidey sense again. Cause like, I love how in this movie, it's a little more apparent. Cause like the music kind of like, everything kind of like doles out.
Yeah.
And like it's pretty obvious. Cause like Peter looks towards like the vague direction of like where the danger is. He's like, why are you running? And then he hops on the car and dude, Dr. Ock looks so cool in this movie. And like, I don't remember that actor's name either, but like he slips right back into that role.
It was interesting. I don't know if I read it or if I heard it, but apparently.
So you could be making stuff.
Everything I say is made up. Dude, anything I say is probably false. But I believe that this, I think the actor, the only reason the only way that he would come back for the role is if they de-aged him. Because he didn't want to look old playing his character.
Because it like
Continuity.
Continuity wise, right?
It wasn't that. It was he didn't want to look old on the screen.
I think it also helps continuity, though.
Of course. I mean, obviously, that helps continuity.
Alfred Maloney or Melania.
Cool.
Melina?
Cool.
Meanwhile,
So they ass fight.
yeah.
And like I told you guys like right beforehand, I think one of the only ways that like Peter wins this fight is with like the huge advantage of the Iron Spider suit. Because like in a lot of comic book media, movies, video games, like those arms of Dr. Ock are like, you don't mess with them. Like they are, they're like so fast. They're so strong. Like Peter gets whooped by them like several times in several different medias. And
He gets whooped in this one, too.
Yeah, he's not exactly.
But it's, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like there's a part where he gets like slammed through the bridge, and I'm like, without the Iron Spider suit,
Yeah.
he's like unconscious at that
Definitely.
point. And it's also the Iron Spider suit that the nanotech goes off and surrounds the arms.
Well, I think Doc Ock actually like grabbed it and he put it onto himself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
Like,
don't
that
think
was-
he tried to. I think it's like when he tried to stab him, right, and he came off. He took part of his suit with him. I don't think he.
Yeah, first
attempted-
he rips it off, and then there's an exposed part, and then he stabs him, and then like it like shifts to like protect him,
Gotcha.
and then it's all around him, and then like Peter's like pairing what.
New device.
like a Bluetooth device.
It's like Bluetooth.
Yeah. And then he takes control of the arms. And there's another really cool detail where Doc Ock is like, no, don't listen to him, listen to me. It's a pretty cool detail because like in the Sam Raimi movies, I think it's number 2. It's like another tragic deal with Doc Ock. That like those voices are constantly in his head, which is, oh man.
Yeah.
Because that's another reason why I like Doc Ock as like a villain. Because he's not like an inherently evil dude. He wants to help people, but like it's being corrupted by those arms.
The arms.
And like it's a whole nother entity on his back. He talks to him almost the entire time,
Yeah.
like the second movie.
There's like, I mean, it's multiple beings. Like each arm has a consciousness, which is really interesting.
So he takes control, saves the MIT lady, puts her back up on the bridge, safe, and then wraps Doc Ock in his own arms. And she's like, I'm going to talk to him about your friends, and I'm going to talk to him about you. And then she gets out. He's like, hey, I see you. Come here. And I was like, I don't think they showed us what happened because he probably got like slapped into oblivion.
I also love how he's just walking him around like a pet dog now. He's like, you're with me. Come on.
And then it's like as they're talking, the Green Goblin, like you see the bomb show up from the first movie, and it looks so good.
The bomb's so iconic. I love it.
Oh yeah. He's about like to hit him with the glider, but then like Spell comes over and like transports him back to
Him and Doc Ock.
yeah to
The Sanctum
the dungeon.
Sanctorum. You said it earlier. I can't remember the name.
Undercroft. I
I think it's the Undercroft.
um
Yeah. It's basically like the crypt
the crypt.
It's the basement.
where they do their laundry.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it the wizard's basement.
Yeah.
So Peter's in there, and Doc is now in one of these like cells, I suppose, with like this barrier in front of it, and then he sees like this like dinosaur-looking thing that like we obviously know it's the lizard from Amazing Spider-Man #1. So Doctor Strange says that like, yeah, I suppose a couple of them like sneak through.
He blames Peter for all of it, even though he's the one that did the spell.
He's just like
I suppose.
he's not taking the acknowledgement that like he was a part of that mistake, right?
Yeah.
He's like, nah, it's your fault.
He goes, "Do you have any idea how many of these might have even come through? This is all your fault." I'm like, okay, hold on. Who's the magic guy here?
It's definitely both their faults, but I could see how he's like leaning more towards Peter because he changed the spell multiple
Right.
times, and he kept telling him not to change the spell.
Yeah. I think they probably should have just talked about what they wanted before the
Yes.
before the spell started being cast.
The arrogance. So yeah, he's like, hold on, let me explain. He's like, do you know a Spider-Man? He's talking to Doc Ock. He's like, do you know a Spider-Man? He goes, yes. Is this him? No. He's like, see, they're from different universes. So I love how the multiverse is just kind of like,
Being
yep, we're here. it's all part of the MCU now.
It's not being like introduced. It's really being like shown. It's interesting.
So this is, we get the box, and I'm gonna attempt to pronounce this. This ought to be fun. The Machina de Cadavus,
Magic box.
the magic box that holds the spell. And like he can also like use this box to like send them back to their reality.
Yeah.
Like just I guess reverse the spell, destroy the spell. I don't know. But Peter's like, oh no, does he go to Feast first?
Yes.
Because this is why he takes it upon himself to, I think.
Well, I can't remember the order. Plus, we also, I think it's at the, like, before we get to that part, I know what you're talking about, they get Electro as well.
Yes, that's what it is. First, they're trying to find.
Oh, they're finding
more.
they're finding the escapees. Yeah.
And then Doctor Strange says his line about
Oh,
Scooby-Doo.
yeah, it's the cringiest line in this movie. There are a couple jokes in this that are like, oh.
This is why I didn't think it was him. Why would he say that? He goes, Scooby-Doo this stuff, but he didn't say
Four-letter
stuff.
word that starts with an S.
Yes.
And
ends with
ooh.
Like, we've talked about this in the past. Like the MCU has tried to be more comedic relief and stuff, but sometimes they just try too hard, you know? And the jokes aren't landing.
But the thing is, we've never talked about Scooby-Doo in any movie. So, like, why now? He, like, a lot of characters, they'll have, like, jokes from their other movies that they're in. That I know of. Benedict Cumberbatch has never been in a Scooby-Doo movie.
It'd be funny if he, like, from now on, he keeps...
He is the Scooby-Doo.
He's the Scooby-Doo guy.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we know what he's trying to say. It's just he could have said it in so many other ways.
He could have... Oh, because isn't he Sherlock in the Sherlock show?
Yes.
He could have said, like...
A Sherlock quote.
Figure it out. Or something.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
So yeah, they go to where like they say this this monster has been flying around in the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get the pretty cool scene with Electro that shows up and the Sandman, and Sandman's like, "Oh hey Peter," we're like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Sorry sir, I don't know you."
I'm Peter, but not your Peter.
So we did, as we were watching this, we had the question, and I did a little research. How is Electro here? Because in Amazing Spider-Man 2, I think,
he never finds out who
Peter
Parker is.
What initially I was like, how does he know the identity? Because like the I can't remember his name, but like the guy who he's playing, he used to
Jamie
like he was a
Foxx.
janitor. Yeah, but the character he plays, he used to like be a janitor, and he only ever saw Spider-Man. And then he fell into the vat of acid, becomes Electro, and he still only ever saw Spider-Man. But I guess the explanation is from like I looked up on Marvel fandom, so I guess I'll go with this explanation. At the very end of that movie, when he's absorbing everything and downloading data to become like pure energy, I guess he's like downloading information from like seems like all over New York.
It's like S.H.I.E.L.D.
And he has like somehow he accesses like Andrew Garfield's tech in that movie, and he like figures out Peter Parker's identity, I guess.
Well,
I don't know. It's a bit of a stretch, I think.
Could it be also that he's worked at Oscorp and he's probably seen him?
Right, but you have the reason that people got pulled in is because they know Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And if he didn't know, why is he here?
Well, and the Goblin could have told him too in that movie because that was his best friend and he knew his Peter Parker.
I don't think they ever interact. I don't think the Goblin and Electro ever interact in that movie.
I had to rewatch the movie, honestly.
Hey, guess what? I don't think I ever saw that movie.
It's a bit of a stretch, but I guess an explanation is there. You have to do a little bit of inferring. But we'll get to another person that shows up that makes zero sense.
Absolutely none.
So he gets the call from May, right? And he goes to, like, this strange dude, strange homeless dude who's like asking for Peter is at Feast, which that's also pretty cool that Feast is in this movie. So that also explains what Aunt May does for a living.
Yeah.
So Peter runs there, and yeah, it's it's him. That's the guy they're looking for, but it's not the Goblin anymore. He's like a different person, which I find this interesting too. It's a little bit of a retcon from the first movie where it's like he put the serum in him and like he was just the Goblin at that point. But here it's kind of like a bipolar, multiple personality disorder
like
type thing,
a split personality disorder.
which it's kind of interesting. It's oh shoot,
Disassociated.
what's his name in the movie?
Osborn.
Yeah, it's like Osborn is one person and like the Goblin is another person.
And he said he didn't know where to go because
and he doesn't remember.
He doesn't know the people who live in his house.
Osborn is
Oscorp doesn't exist.
Yeah. His son.
Where
Where is James Franco?
is a movie star now.
But yeah, and he doesn't remember when he's the Goblin. He doesn't remember anything that he does, which is like, oh.
But I love that his first thought was to come to Peter Parker for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
because they're buddies, and like at least Osborn and Peter are buddies in the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. So then May's like, Peter I think says something along the lines of, "This is not my problem. I'm going to send him back to the universe. It's the best thing for him." And May goes, "Hold on, not your problem. You brought him into this reality, so you got to help fix these people.
Because if you don't, they're going to go back and die.
Yeah.
Because all of them were about to die when they got pulled.
Why could have Aunt May just said nothing?
Because that's not her character.
Exactly. She's the moral compass.
Dang it.
Yeah. Who needs
Not
it?
for long.
So he goes back to the sanctum, and Osborn gets put in one of those like little cell things.
He goes, "Oh, good, you got another one."
So
this is when he comes back with the box.
Yes.
Because he didn't have the box beforehand.
And he's about to send them all back, and he's like, "Strange, wait, they'll die." And he goes, "The grand calculus, their death does not matter." But in true, like, I think Spider-Man fashion, he can't let anybody die if he has a choice. So he grabs the box, he runs away with it, he runs outside. I love how MJ's like,
well, he throws Doctor Strange into one of the cells.
yeah,
And he just walks through.
yeah,
Because he is magic.
yeah, it's his spell.
Yeah.
And so yeah, Spider-Man runs outside and he starts like trying to web up to buildings, but each time he throws a web, he opens up a sling ring portal, and like the web just like
Catches
does like a
himself.
portal thing, and like and then he has like the whip thing, and he like pulls Spider-Man back and then like hits Peter with the
Astral projection.
yeah.
So
Am I dead? And then yeah, this is another really solid attention to detail that is perfectly in line with the comic book character. So it's just Spider-Man's body, obviously, and like his soul is outside of his body. But when Strange goes to reach for the box, his arm like moves around, and like you see the little Spidey sense, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
So in my opinion, it looks just like the comics.
Yes.
Because I guess I don't read the comics, but in the comics,
It has a little
it has
tingle.
actual like
Yeah.
little squiggles for the tingle.
And like it's the same thing in
the game.
and Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
I do like how like they didn't make it like super noticeable, right?
Right.
Like it wasn't like on the screen like, hey, he has spider sense. It's like the most subtle thing, and
Yeah,
it's like
it was
just
white.
very
It was-
transparent.
yeah.
I love it.
So then he like
He swims back.
swims back to his body. Is like, that was really cool, but never do that again. And then each time we get to see the mirror dimension, I think it looks so cool. It's like Inception on crack. So we go there, and like they have a fight in the mirror dimension, which I didn't ask for Doctor Strange versus Spider-Man, but let's go for it. This is cool.
It was really, really cool.
They're riding a subway train
And
through
it
the sky.
shows us how smart Peter really is.
Mhm.
Because he figures out that he can math his way to figuring out what's going to happen.
I don't know
in
what he
this.
says, but like oh,
just
it's
geometry.
it's this, and it's
Yeah.
like the mirror dimension is just geometry.
But what was really interesting was the only reason that the mirror dimension switched to that geometry thing is because Peter stuck a thing to the sky mirror and stuck one to the floor mirror and pulled them together.
Yeah, and it
broke
imploded.
again. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it became that other one.
Which I don't understand what's going on, but it looks cool.
Yeah. Hey, good for him.
Yeah.
So he webs Strange up, and people are like, well, why didn't Doctor Strange, leave Spider-Man there? And I'm like, well, he has to use his hands, right? And he gets his hands webbed up, so that's why.
And then Spider-Man also takes a sling.
Takes the sling ring.
My the thing that confuses me is he's stuck in the mirror dimension.
Mm-hmm.
How does he get out of that?
They never really say how he got out, right? He just does.
I mean, he put himself in there. I imagine he can get himself out after the webs dissolve.
That's true.
But that takes a long time for the webs to dissolve.
We've also talked about, like in the first Doctor Strange movie, you don't want to be stuck in the mirror dimension without your sling ring.
Right.
Because you can't get out. So how?
I guess he did. I don't know.
We need an explanation.
I think because also Spider-Man's webs, they deteriorate after so many minutes, hours.
He said 3 hours, so I would imagine that's how long it took for him to deteriorate.
So I imagine that's how he got out. Is the spider webs deteriorated and then the mirror dimension went back to being normal.
My guess is he probably knows the spell.
Yeah, that too.
But in the mirror dimension, rather than that scenario, the mirror dimension's there 24/7 all the time.
Yeah.
It's its own dimension. So,
True. I don't know.
It's
magic.
It's magic.
He's magic man.
So he takes the bad. So yeah, while Strange is webbed up in the mirror dimension, Spidey takes all the villains to Happy's condominium, and Happy calls him, and he's like, "Is that a cyborg? Is that a dude made out of mud? Did you brought into my apartment?" Which he's not far off. Sandman, Mudman.
Sandman is just making a mess on his couch. He's trying to swipe off all the sand that's on it and just putting more onto the couch. I'm like, oh.
It is funny.
I love the detail though when Electro walks past his home camera and it glitches and then he turns the TV on by just zapping it.
Magic.
So he puts he's making the thing with Osborn because Osborn is Osborn.
He's a smart scientist.
He's making a thing to cure Doc Ock. Because Happy has some it's like you can scan stuff, you can build stuff. It's like a box from Tony.
It's a stolen Stark tech that they
were looking for it
at the very beginning.
House.
Yeah. That's why they took everything. But they're like, where's it at?
It has how it can power all these things.
It's a fabricator.
It has an arc reactor in it.
So did Tony give it, or did he actually steal it?
I think both. I bet it was in the jet. It's the thing that was in the jet that Peter built his suit.
Do you think you think Peter could probably use this, so I kept it?
That's what I think.
I don't know. My guess is Tony gave it to Happy because
to hold or to keep
as
safe.
a backup if he ever needed to build something at Happy's because it was just sitting there collecting dust.
Right.
So I'd imagine it had been there for a hot minute.
Couple years.
And then they were like, well, we want it, so you can't have it kind of situation.
And then he just yeah, no, I don't have any of Tony's tech. So yeah, he works with Osborn to cure Octavius, and then he puts a siphon on Electro to make sure he's tapped out.
Yeah, he said once all the lights are lit, he will no longer have electricity in his body. And he goes, well, I mean, you'll have just enough because your body really needs it, and this and that and that.
I got a question.
Yes.
Are these your Legos?
Yeah. That was good because Dummy was building a Lego set.
Yeah, Peter and Dummy were building the Death Star, and then Dummy broke it. They can't build it because Ned broke it in the Homecoming.
Yeah,
he broke they just can't build the Death Star.
I thought they finished it. Like after like the whole sequence where he loses his suit.
I think they did, but they probably then took it apart to move.
I wonder if they broke it again off screen.
Okay, question: if you built a Death Star with that many pieces, would you break it down?
I'm gluing it.
Okay.
I'm using super glue on every piece.
Uh,
I dropped my hammer the other day.
Oh no.
And it fell apart, so I had to, it took me about 30 minutes to try to put it back together.
Another sidebar. Have you ever like misplaced a piece before? Like, oh, I should have moved over one.
No,
No.
I'm really good.
Okay.
I'm good
anywho,
at Legos.
Super good.
they fixed Doc Ock. They put a new chip in the back of his neck, and it silences the arms and puts him in control. And he thanks Peter, and then they start working on Osborn. While Electro it's about halfway-ish.
Yeah.
To a siphon, and then after that they have the lizard in a truck down on the parked outside, and Sandman's I guess is chilling.
And right when
Is
this is when all the cars show up.
Yeah.
Question real quick. Is it right after where Doc Ock gives back the nanos?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right after he fixes
Right
them?
after he's cured, he gives them back, so he gets like the gold tint on it, which I'm not a huge
like
fan
it.
of.
I like
It's
it.
a combination of the two suits, right? There's a little bit of nanos, but it's also the normal, like the suit he made, right?
I think that
Don't like it.
this gives us a definitive. This is our Peter Parker. This is the one that we are supposed to be watching grow up. Like that's the reason I think they put that onto him.
Well, I think about it several ways too. There's multiple things going on here. It's his suit he made by himself, right? And it's taken part of the Iron Spider, which Tony made. So it's like the combination of the two coming together, using his smarts, using Tony's equipment to fix these guys, right?
Yeah.
But also like what we've seen in the games and stuff, it's also his like, it's not his Doc Ock, but him and Doc Ock always have a real close thing. And like in the game, Doc Ock also boosts or like helps amplify or increase or upgrade his suit, right?
Okay.
So like this is his version of upgrading our Spider-Man suit.
That's kind of cool.
I still don't like it.
I don't like the colors.
So
The gold and blue and red.
yeah, the golden red, man.
Iron Man, no.
Yeah. So they.
J. Jonah Jameson shows up down on the ground.
Yes.
Yeah, and the lizard's like, "Oh boy, here we go."
Yeah.
And
then we go back up to the penthouse.
I think this is my personal favorite, like Spidey sense moment,
I love this scene.
because like he's looking, he like stands up, and like the camera does a pretty cool thing where it's like totally focused on Peter's face, and everything around him, like all the audio was muffled,
Yeah.
and he's like, you can tell he's like, he doesn't know where it is.
He's
And like
stammering.
it's kind of like in Endgame when he got snapped away, like he was feeling sick
Yeah.
because he knew he was about to die. It's like he knows danger is around. He just can't figure out where it is. And then like you see him, like he looks over to Osborn, and he's like, oh, he locked on, and then he webs his hand, and then
Closes his eyes.
yeah, like he focuses like
It
in
was so cool.
in Far From Home.
Yeah.
Um
So we get to we're seeing him like get these new abilities.
yeah.
Understanding. It's so cool.
And dude, how Willem Dafoe turns on the Goblin.
Oh,
Oh my God.
Some
Norman's on
sense
sabbatical.
That's some sense you've got,
Dude.
Spider.
And how his face like just changes too. Like I'm so glad. Like the mask. I have my love-hate relationship with the mask, because like in the comic book, obviously there was no mask. He was a goblin.
Right.
But I understand like why they did that, and like it looks okay. But I'm so glad that Willem Dafoe got to be maskless, because the range that he can do is wild.
I was actually really excited when I first saw the scene, like after he got attacked, like on the bridge and whatnot.
Yeah.
You saw him throw it in like the dumpster in like a alleyway and just smash the helmet.
Yeah.
I love that scene.
I liked that because he then has the sweat. Because he has his sweatshirt and his jacket on, and
It's
it
a cool
is-
look.
It tears to where
It's
it.
like the Daft Punk version.
All right, you ruined it.
No, it is. I mean, it's he's got like the goggles because he's flying, and it's It's all torn up.
I was with you until you said Daft Punk.
Well, besides
I'm in
the Daft-
steampunk. I'm in steampunk.
But
Like,
even then, like I still agree with you. Like I love that because it turns into more like comic book accurate, right?
Yeah.
Instead of having a helmet, he has the hood from the sweatshirt that gets teared off, so it's
Right.
like a half little like
it's really
crop
it's,
top
it's
thing.
cool.
But
I didn't mean Daft Punk. I meant steampunk.
Guys, I want to retract my.
I take back everything I've said.
So this is when all hell breaks loose, because he convinces Electro that you're a god. You don't have to answer to these people's rules. He takes off the siphon. Electro it goes slow mo. He
one.
yeah.
It was at 1 bar.
I think this is a pretty cool way to make Electro like a super dangerous threat. Like, bro, he grabs an arc reactor that can power. What is the line in the original Iron Man? Like, it can power a city for how many years?
He was
On its
powering
own.
all of the tower.
Yeah,
With one arc reactor.
yeah, and so give it to a guy who runs on electricity.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
and it's unlimited clean power too. So
and then Electro blasts Doc Ock out of the building.
He goes, I like you better before.
And then Sandman is like, oh, well, this is going up in flames. So he just kind of disappears out the window. The lizard starts to scratch his way out of the truck. And May grabs the tech stuff and runs to the elevator. But, it doesn't work because of Electro. So she starts taking the stairs. And then Peter starts having a fight with the Goblin. And dude, Willem Dafoe doing his own stunts, 65, 67?
67, I think.
Somewhere around there. Dude, he's whooping Spider-Man's butt.
I think this Goblin's more BA than the first one. Like it shows his pure strength he has. Like even Spider-Man's strong, he's overpowering him. I'm like, oh my.
I asked Devin this. I asked him, do you think that he is holding back still?
I think at this point, yes.
Yes.
But after what happens here in a second, absolutely not.
No. After this, no.
Yeah.
Because he's getting whooped, essentially. Bro gets slammed out the glass. He gets
when he's
punching
out of the glass, and then the lizard throws him back inside
to get whooped some more. So he's punching the Goblin in the face, and he just smiles back at him, which is terrifying. And then Peter gets slammed through 3 floors. He gets power bombed through 3 floors. And I think it goes all the way down, right? To the bottom floor.
Yeah.
They hit the lobby.
Whoops. Oh no. And May gets in on the action too, which I don't know if we've really seen that before, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, she runs in and
stabs him with the cure, which doesn't work.
Well, it wasn't finished.
Yeah, it was she grabbed it before. I was like, May, don't you know all the science things that Peter does? Come on.
If only May was half a scientist that Peter then we would have had a cured goblin.
So they it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And she gets in front of them and bro, this goblin is a menace. He's like, you tried to cure me, I'm gonna cure you. And the glider comes down outside of the building and smashes in and hits May and knocks her to the ground. And then he hops up on the glider and then he clicks the bomb and then throws it and flies out. And then he just starts throwing a couple, 3 of them to blow up the cars because he's just a menace.
Dude,
and
that was so sad because Peter was like, no, and jumped and hit it, but it still blew up on him.
Yeah. And then so he finds May and she stands up. She's like, no, I know, I'm good. And she gives him the speech. Because Peter's all right, no, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Too many people are getting hurt. This is just chaos. I'm done. She goes, hey, no, you can't do that. Essentially, we get with great power comes great responsibility.
And she said it, but.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's what I said.
I don't know about you guys. I wasn't emotionally ready for this scene.
Oh, no.
This blindsided me.
Teared up.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's like, "Oh, I'm fine." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, she's fine."
And it falls.
She thought she was not so much.
This is why I also like Tom Holland. Like his emotional range is really impressive.
Oh yeah. So like I think this is the moment that transitions actually where he becomes like Spider-Man because he gets the speech. And yeah, she falls and she dies. And then Happy shows up and like sees them.
Poor Happy.
He sees Peter crying over May,
Yeah.
and that's when the cops show up and start arresting.
Shoot at Peter.
Start arresting Happy, shooting at Peter.
I think
he yells, right?
he gets.
Happy yells, "Get out of here, run!"
I think he gets hit too.
Yeah,
Peter gets hit. I'm like, what the hell,
Dude? Peter gets messed up in this entire exchange.
Oh yeah,
Several floors.
His only one of his only family members, one of his only family members is killed, and then like he sees one of his distressed friends, and then like the people that he's trying to help like
it's just all bad.
shoot at him, and then like all the villains are just out doing their thing. So yeah, I think we're gonna leave Peter here at like this super messed up state.
So yeah, that will conclude today the podcast. Please join us next week for part 2 of Spider-Man: No Way Home. Thank you.